So, the past few months haven't been too great for new MMO releases. The vast majority of games released in this genre since, well, the past decade really, haven't really seen long-term success, or they've been cancelled before full release. At this point, it seems like MMO players, including myself, have reached a point of acceptance and have mostly consolidated to the big successful long-term MMOs that have managed to maintain healthy player bases for multiple years. World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, Old School RuneScape, Final Fantasy XIV, ESO, Albion Online, Black Desert Online, and so on. A while ago, I used to make these yearly videos titled Most Popular MMO of X Year, and we're basically at the point where I could copy-paste the 2023 version of that.
Because there's no MMOs left. Damn. Lazy Peon made a whole career out of making videos about MMOs, and then there's not going to be any MMOs left. Fuck, dude, that sucks. And I think that's how a lot of us feel. And it's pretty much WoW and RuneScape. I mean, Final Fantasy is there, but not really. Guild Wars 2 is kind of there, but not really. It's just not, they're just not the popular ones. And then you have WoW, which is the big one. And then you now have a second life of RuneScape. RuneScape kind of just like when it entered its golden age after Varlamore, within the past year or so. Like now RuneScape just like is bigger than ever and it's doing really well. So RuneScape is one of the only ones that had the MMOs that is seeing like growth in their player base. And it's for a good reason. I think that RuneScape is in a good spot right now.
That video, and it'd probably still be 90% accurate. In the past 6 months, we've had New World announce it'll be shutting down at the end of 2026, the implosion of Ashes of Creation, Project Ghost cancelled, New Lord of the Rings MMO cancelled, Warhammer MMO cancelled, and the ZeniMax MMO cancelled.
Damn.
It's certainly been rough, and what's even more concerning is that the few big MMOs that did release in the past few years haven't exactly maintained player numbers that suggest a long future. Look at Throne and Liberty. This is 18 months after it released. And honestly, this game had some really cool features.
I enjoyed Throne and Liberty the first few days.
Look good, especially for a game that went through a 10+ year development cycle. How about Lost Ark? It recently turned 4 years old. Prior to release, this was one of the most hyped MMORPGs of the past decade.
Nah, Lost Ark was not it.
Not looking good.
I didn't like it.
released 1.0 not too long ago. Also seems to be struggling. Blue Protocol.
Who?
Brighter Shores.
Who?
Core Punk.
Okay, Brighter Shores.
You get the point. Like, it's not as if we don't get new MMO releases. It's just that these new MMOs aren't able to hold on to a decent
Sony love that game. Dude, Sony actually gravitates more towards Korean PvP MMOs that unfortunately have lots of pay to win. But that he does tend to gravitate more towards those. He likes those a lot.
Or break into the top 10 for longer than a few months. So what does the rest of 2026 hold for us in terms of upcoming MMOs?
Nothing.
What are the next big MMO releases
Absolutely
on
nothing.
the horizon? In this video, we'll discuss all of that. But first, a shout out to today's sponsor, Albion Online, one of the few newer MMO releases that have actually seen long-term success and a healthy player base. Albion has recently dropped its biggest update in a while, Radiant Wilds, and there's a lot to talk about. The most immediately obvious change is a full visual overhaul. Every biome has been reworked with new lighting, textures, water graphics, and atmosphere.
Bro, this game just looks like a mobile game. I can't get behind that.
Check it out using my link in the description. So back to the next big MMO releases, and I think the one that I'm personally looking forward to the most in the near term is actually Chrono Odyssey. This game had a beta test back in mid-2025, and honestly, it was rather under...
Dude. To me, this just looks like every other New World generic like graphic MMO, and it's just like you can look at it and be like, yeah, that game's gonna fail.
Overwhelming. The game definitely
not to be negative, but any game that just looks like this, you just automatically associate it with like that standard looking MMO that always fails, and that's just a product of like that's just me being conditioned to think this because of what's happened from the history. It's doesn't have enough art identity to it to like be relevant or like to capture an audience, I guess. I don't know. I'm just not interested. The moment I look at it, I'm just not interested.
But at the time it was targeting an end of 2025 release. During the beta test, I remember it just felt super undercooked and needed a lot of work. Most notably, I remember the combat and movement feeling quite clunky. My attacks lock me in animation for so long, it's extremely difficult to get an attack off. Like one attack, you would think that everything would be animation cap. What even killed me? Chrono Odyssey also seemed to take a lot of inspiration from New World, both with its combat UI, as well as gathering and crafting. This was at a time when we still thought New World still had a long future ahead.
Are there no companies, like look at New World. It already has a solid foundation, right? Is there no company that would just like buy an MMO that's dying for basically pennies and then like try and put enough money into it to make it good, so then you get like a half price MMO that's already developed? Like, can't you just buy a dead MMO and then like develop it and make it better? Like, there's no companies that are doing that. That might be some weird ass thought I just had, but that's just a thought that I just, that happens a lot in business where people will buy a business and turn it around.
Of it. Since that beta test, the Chrono Odyssey devs have done exactly what I wanted to see them do. They delayed the game, they made a blog post addressing every point of player feedback, and recently we've started seeing them...
Yeah, but you could buy New World, change the name of it, change a few systems in the game, call it a different MMO, re-release it, and then you already have a full-on like... You could just, I don't know why I just thought of that, but maybe it's too risky.
Release footage of changes to the fundamental gameplay issues like combat, movement, camera, and content. With the upcoming shutdown of New World and Chrono Odyssey likely releasing early 2027, I can definitely see this being a game that ex-New World players will migrate to. As Chrono Odyssey is a Korean MMO, one big concern is obviously, will it be pay to win?
Yep.
Right now, we don't know, but it is worth mentioning that unlike most Korean MMO releases, Chrono Odyssey is actually developed by an indie studio. There's no big publicly traded publisher like NCSoft pulling the strings, so monetization should be in the hands of the developers for this one. I'd personally like to see them go with the same monetization model that Where Winds Meet uses. Cosmetic only gacha. It makes a ton of money, but it doesn't compromise the integrity of the game.
I like that.
I think that's the best we can hope for.
That's the best happy medium, is for there to be no power that you can purchase. No purchasable power. Only cosmetics. And you know what? In Where Winds Meet, I think they have a mount, like there's like some dragon that goes in the sky and it costs you like 50,000. And if you want to have stuff like that too, let the whales eat then, make your 50 grand from some one guy. As long as it doesn't give him any power, just makes him look cool. I mean, that's okay at this point.
Overall, my excitement level for Chrono Odyssey is probably
better than power.
A 6 out of 10. ArcheAge Chronicles is another big upcoming MMO release that we might see at the end of 2026 or early 2027, and based on their recent uptick in activity on X, it seems like things are moving along nicely. ArcheAge Chronicles has been in development for a long time at this point. It's being made by XL Games, so I would expect it to be pay to win, unfortunately. And based on the info they've put out about the game over the years, it seems much less massively multiplayer than the original ArcheAge. From the footage shown, it seems like ArcheAge Chronicles will have a similar combat system to Chrono Odyssey and New World. It's being developed in UE5 and will be cross-platform on both PC and consoles. Honestly, I'm not super excited for ArcheAge Chronicles, and it seems to only be ArcheAge in name. Mid-2025, they released a dev diary basically saying it's not a traditional MMORPG, but a discovery-driven online action RPG. To be honest, I think the success of ArcheAge Chronicles rests entirely on the combat being extremely good and the monetization not ruining the...
Any of these MMOs that just look... I feel like, when they look too realistic or they're trying to be too realistic, it actually looks bad. Because the technology it's not realistic enough yet. And when they're trying to be realistic but they're missing the mark, I'd rather have them just not try. Like RuneScape doesn't try to be realistic. It just has its own unique art style. WoW doesn't try to be too realistic. It has its own thing. And it looks fine.
The game. Two things that
so I feel like art style is so important in MMOs.
Overall, I'd say my excitement for this game is a 5 out of 10, and I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised. Aion 2 will most likely be releasing globally towards the end of 2026. This game already released both in Korea and Taiwan over 5 months ago.
Dude, I remember playing Aion 1.
Like the game has been an overall success in terms of financials. As of making this video, it's still in the top 10 for Korean PC bang usage, and by January 2026, it had already made $68 million. Aion 2 is a cross-platform PC mobile MMO made in Unreal Engine 5. It uses a hybrid tab-target combat system that allows for dodges and combos, and it also features a mix of both PvP and PvE content.
It looks like BDO and Final Fantasy.
Saying that it's kind of similar to Lost Ark. Personally, my excitement for Aion 2 is like a 3 out of 10 because it does seem to be disgustingly pay to win, so I wouldn't expect it to maintain a player base in the West for longer than 3 months. I can see it being another Throne and Liberty situation, although Aion is a much more established IP, so maybe it'll do a bit better. When it comes to Western MMOs, I think the only one releasing in the short term that has mass appeal is Scars of Honor. It looks heavily inspired by World of Warcraft.
Okay, this one has a little bit of art style.
It seems to have that responsive, fluid movement, as well as a mix of both PvP and PvE content. It's also going to be free to play, so it could definitely appeal to WoW fans who don't want to pay for that monthly sub. Scars of Honor seems to be targeting an end of 2026 release, and there's also going to be a Steam playtest from April 30th to May 11th. I think you can sign up for that right now, so go check it out on Steam. I'd say that my excitement for this...
Bro, I've just realized that the font of the numbers and the game has a lot to do with the art style too. Like the font that they use can be like a dead giveaway if it has some kind of art style. Like look at the numbers
aesthetic
on the damage numbers and stuff.
Fluid movement, as well as a mix of both PvP and PvE content.
You can tell right away.
It's like free to play, so it could definitely appeal to WoW fans who
like. I like the damage numbers in this game.
Sub. Scars of Honor seems to be targeting an end of 2026 release, and there's also going to be a Steam playtest from April 30th to May 11th. I think you
see the font of the numbers. They don't look like, they look more like bubble. They're like bubble style letters. It kind of adds to the aesthetic of the game.
That right now, so go check it out on Steam. I'd say
they're
that
clear and easy to read
this one is like a 5 out of 10, and I'm hoping that I can get access to the playtest soon and make a first impressions on it. But honestly, in the next year, that's pretty much it for the big MMO releases that have a decent shot of cracking the top 10. Of course, we do still have the other big projects in development like the Riot MMO and Guild Wars 3, but these could still be years away. We literally know nothing about these games. I haven't heard anything about
Guild Wars 3.
But even so, I would say that my excitement levels are like a 9 out of 10 for both of them. Of course, we do still have a bunch of indie MMOs or niche MMOs that are also likely to release relatively soon.
I had no idea that was even coming.
Monsters and Memories is the big one that classic MMO fans seem to be most looking forward to.
Dude, Ompi is addicted to this game. Monsters and Memories. This guy has like... He said he has like 200 hours already in the game.
This is another spiritual successor to EverQuest and is currently scheduled to enter early access on June 1st, 2026. Aside from that, if you're into pixel MMOs, then Dracantos seems to be getting closer to a release. I actually covered this in a first impressions last year.
Dude, that looks like
Pokemon. I've already fixed my biggest problem with the game, which was the movement. So I'm looking forward to giving that one another try too. Another lesser known but still beloved IP that should be releasing a sequel in the next year is Ragnarok Online 3. Although that one does have a solid chance of being paid to win, as with every Korean MMO. We've also got Bellatorus, another Korean MMO, Architect's Land of Exiles, which looks absolutely awful.
What the hell? I've never heard of any of this.
Apogia, which is basically a modern take on Tibia.
You know who told me this game was really good? Poke. My buddy Poke. He said this game looks sick. He said it was really fun to play too, and it's kind of like a RuneScape top-down MMO. He said it was really fun.
But honestly, these games are kind of niche and are unlikely to sustain a spot in the top 10 MMOs.
That's Apogia down here, I think.
A week or two. Despite most new MMOs failing to maintain a stable long-term player base, I did find two that seem to be exceptions to this rule. Palia became playable back in 2023 and released on Steam in March 2024. Since then, the game's received numerous updates, it's sitting at very positive reviews, and has maintained a stable player base. And this chart doesn't even show player numbers for PS5, Xbox, or Nintendo. It might not be a traditional MMO, but I think I would consider this one a success. The Quinfall initially came to early access on Steam at the start of 2025, and it got off to a really horrible start. Rampant cheaters, bugs, the game was an absolute mess, but in the time since, it seems to have seen quite a big resurgence in player numbers, seemingly due to the shutdown of Ashes of Creation as well as New World. The game still has a long way to go, but it does at the very least seem to be showing signs of turning things around. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the next big upcoming MMORPGs. Most of them are coming out of Korea, or they're fairly niche.
I'll wait for 2030.
There is no WoW killer, there probably never will be, and most people will have just consolidated to the top 10 most popular games of the genre. Despite
like
the MMO genre seeming quite dead in terms of new releases right now though, that isn't to say that there hasn't been games releasing that doesn't scratch that MMO itch or appeal to MMO fans. Recently we've had Crimson Desert release, and whilst definitely not an MMO, many people describe it as feeling like a single player MMO, especially with how the devs have continued to update it post-launch. We've also got Where Winds Meet. It does have an online mode, but personally I do prefer the single player stuff in this game. Soulframe is another one, not a full MMO, but more of an online action RPG with multiplayer elements, also looking quite promising. Then you've got PoE 2 and Diablo 4 on the ARPG side of things, not MMOs, but there's definitely some audience crossover there. And then you've got a plethora of survival RPGs, a genre that I've really come to love in the past few years, that definitely gives a similar satisfying sense of progression to MMOs.
The RuneScape
Games
survival.
like Valheim, Asker, RuneScape Dragon Wilds, Shrouded, Bellrite, and too many more to even mention. Actually, whilst I was taking a break from YouTube after the Ashes of Creation,
I feel like Dragon Wilds was really fun, man.
2 full weeks playing Asker with one of my friends. I'm over 300 hours in that game now, and I absolutely love it. Just looking forward to more content and eventually a 1.0 release. My point is, whilst full-scale big MMORPGs might not be releasing or popping off like they used to, I actually think more games than ever are adding MMO-like features and systems that scratch a similar itch. MMOs are expensive as hell to make, and due to Western game dev wages being so high, they're just not financially wise games to pursue for investors. Hence why we mostly see these games releasing from Korea or China nowadays, where the wages are much lower and they're much more financially viable. But that's where we'll wrap things up for this video. Let me know.
As much as I love MMOs, guys, if I was a giga rich, I would not invest in one. So I get it. MMOs are screwed, guys. We are screwed. If you like MMOs, too bad. Okay? Because MMOs are done for. Unless Riot can make a good one. I feel like that's our only hope if we ever get a new MMO. However, we have RuneScape, and Jagex is awesome. And we're getting Classic Plus. No copium. Later this year, December 12th release date, Classic Plus will launch, and they will announce that they purchased Turtle WoW, and they are taking all of the good things from Turtle WoW, which is why Turtle WoW shut down, and we're going to be getting Classic Plus end of the year, right after the Sunwell and TBC is released. There you go. You heard it here first.